Welcome to David vs. Film. I am David, yo soy David, and tonight I am spilling the peach tea on your comments from Season 1 of Heated Rivalry. A big hey, hi, and hello to all of you, but to returning viewers, and especially returning subscribers, what's up? Just a quick recap for those of you who may be new, or those of you who are older like me and have already forgotten. This is a Spilling the Peach Tea edition of David vs. Film. We started doing these videos, I guess back in like around Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, where there were just so many comments coming in from valued viewers like you and our patrons that we wanted to make sure we addressed the content of those comments, showed appreciation for those comments, and this seemed to be the best format to do that. So what I do is I pick several comments from Patreon, several comments from YouTube that you guys have left that either help me sort of expand my understanding of the story, character development, all of those types of things, as well as maybe just some personal comments you guys threw in there. All of these have been made public, so this is not violating anyone's privacy or anything like that, but I do have to say thank you. We're going to start off with Wyatt Eldridge, one of my patrons, who wrote, just putting it out there, this is not HBO. It is distributed by them in the USA, but they had no role in the production of the creation. This is 100% Canadian funded show by Crave, Bell Media, and the Canadian government. Thank you, Wyatt. Several of you left this kind of comment. That's another thing I want to say is that a lot of these have been kind of culled from, one comment that might represent the many that kind of say the same thing. And I got several talking about how this was not an HBO show. This was a Crave/Canadian show. And so point taken. Thank you to Wyatt and all of you who told me about that. The next up is Kate, also from Patreon. OMG, I can't wait. Watching now. And then she writes, edit, I'm so glad you're enjoying it. For me, the acting and the way it's shot and the music really elevate the show to another level. Like you said, it's the visual storytelling that is so interesting and keeps you engaged. The way the spicy stuff is shot is so meaningful and doesn't feel gratuitous. It's key to the character development, in fact, Kate says. And I agree. And I also want to tell you guys quickly, I should have said this earlier. So I kind of tried to lay these out in the kind of order that the episodes came. So some of them are kind of universal comments. I just kind of stuck at the beginning or at the end, but most of them kind of go in order. So I'll try to kind of mention it when we get to a certain episode. At OMG Action Jackson, you're one of the only ones who clocks Ilia's early attachment. LOL. Bless you. Well, bless you. Oh my God, Action Jackson, because I got several comments about people saying this. I don't know if it's just me and I've known people like this in my life, or maybe it's just watching movies for so long and like rom-com type stuff. I just saw Ilia's being way too hard, way too fast, trying so hard to be strong. And then Shane, by contrast, seemed to be the one that we, the audience, were supposed to think, oh, here's the sweetie, here's the soft one. So I guess that's maybe why I thought that. And I just figured they'd pull that old switcheroo. At Monkey Stick 1 from YouTube writes, Drunks and Batman. I laughed big time on that one. Good line. Thank you. Yeah, so several of you kind of commented on that one line. I don't know where that came from. Just as I was watching, I think that was the end of the end of episode 2, where they're on the rooftop and they're talking, and then he's like, hey, they start to kind of get close. He's like, anyone could see us or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, nobody's up there except for like Drunks and Batman. So you gotta worry. They'll keep your secrets. Mel Blanc 1976, the author of the books, has confirmed that she wrote Shane as undiagnosed autistic. This explains some of Shane's mannerisms, emotional maturity, and obsessions with some things. This is something else that I did not catch from the very beginning, that right away in the comments from episodes 1 and 2, people started cluing me into Shane's autism. And I mean, I hadn't really kind of, I guess, defined Shane as a character completely yet anyway at that point. So I wasn't really judging anything he did or sort of like the approach that the actor might have taken into playing that role. But because I had that in my head after you guys wrote this in the comments, that led to more character development early on for me and Shane and helped me enjoy his performance rather than try to define the character like I probably would have done otherwise. So thank you guys At SR Gots, when they're at All-Star Game or award ceremony, they get individuals rooms on the road with their regular team. They have to share with a roommate. Okay, yes. So in a couple episodes, I mentioned this because I wasn't really sure how it worked with the lodging situation. Sometimes it looked like they had these badass lofts or, you know, suites or whatever you'd say. And then other times it looked like the Motel 6 and they're sharing a bed. I don't know. I couldn't figure it out. But then this comment, along with so many of you who wrote something similar, really helped me figure out how that was working. So thanks for that. From YouTube, Shane's parents were living on floor 6. He was there with them, so I don't think that's such a mystery. Mark and I were talking about this, and one of our things that we talked about, what we were really looking forward to for the finale, was to see if there was anything more with Shane's mom running into Ilia in the elevator in like episode 1. I was completely wrong about thinking there might be something we were like foreshadowing with that elevator meeting. I mean, in the sense that Mark and I were thinking there might be some sort of other like side story with, you know, Shane's parents or something. The mom was having an affair too. We didn't know. I guess I was thinking, and Mark was too, that Shane and Ilia were both on upper level floors because he was going to see Shane. Ilia was, right? And he was going up to like the penthouse or like the top floor. And he saw Shane's mother on floor 6. And so that's why I just figured, you know, his mom would probably be up there with him. I don't know. Maybe it was just the team up there. So regardless, it ended up being nothing. But, you know, we were just, you know, Mark and me, we just be guessing shit, like no matter what we see. So that's where that came from. And I want to say thanks to all of you guys who left a comment similar to this one because there were several. I need the crup. This is from Patreon. OMG, I am so loving Hunter and Kip. Okay, so this is when we got into episode 3. And episode 3, I learned after the fact, was a very controversial episode. Some people were all about, you know, Shane and Ilia, and we don't have time for anybody else. And then other people thought, me included, they need their own spinoff kind of thing. Obviously, several of you also clued me in on the books and how the titles of the books are and which books were which and things like that without giving any spoilers, which I appreciate. Thank you as always for that. But you guys were talking about how like one of the books was based on Hunter and Kip, and then, you know, the other book was on like Shane and Ilia. So anyway, I though agree with I Need the Crop, where I was so loving Hunter and Kip. So I was one of those where like I was hoping they were going in that direction with that episode. It seemed like it early on, and then it was just, I thought, amazing all the way through. Also from Patreon, we've got Roxanne Lil Crip, and she writes, what a difference a little communication can make, right? Good or bad. I mean, I know my boys Ilia and Shane have a lot of other type of pressures and struggles than just hockey, sure. But seeing Scott and Kip communicate so openly is such a stark contrast. Yes, and a lot of people were talking about that in one way or another in the comments I saw. This is where I felt like the writing was so good with Kip and with Hunter and Scott. And then the way that they would like, you know, tell one another, hey, you know, like I can't offer you more than this. And then, you know, Kip would be very clear that, well, that's fine, you know, but then as it went on, you could see Kip saying, listen, you know, I want you to come to my birthday. You know, it's just going to be my friends there. I know you're concerned. But I almost start to get emotional just thinking about it because your heart just breaks for him so much. But it's, again, not like you were holding anything against Scott either, because he was just being honest, you know? He was very straightforward from the very beginning. This is all I can offer. I know we went over this in the video, but it just really, I think, stands repeating how well that was written in both ways. Kat Sutter, also from Patreon. Kat writes, your authentic, wonderful reaction hooked me. Thank you. I have seen dozens of people react because I am in this show's fandom prison. Oh yeah, that's one reason I want to pull this comment. Fandom prison since December 26th when episode 6 aired. Thank you for sharing your personality and your takes on this incredible show we all needed when we were younger. As you said, I had mentioned this in the video, as you said, Will and Grace, Dawson's Creek, the breadcrumbs are real. The sadness and anxiety of Boys Don't Cry, but I'm a cheerleader, Bound, Brokeback Mountain. We needed this collectively. That queer joy Jacob Tierney is injecting in our veins from a genre I was unaware of until November 2025. Just glad that we got to witness this. And as someone said elsewhere, I cannot die before Heated Rivalry Season 2. I agree with so much of this comment from Kat. I want to say thank you so much, Kat, for leaving it. I loved when she talked about the fandom prison and how it was so interesting to me because it didn't occur to me at the time of watching episode 6, but someone else had written, a couple of people actually wrote about it in the sense that you kind of fell into a trap, you know, that you started this show that maybe didn't hook you completely right away. It was an interesting show enough that you wanted to continue, but you weren't sure, or you fell in love immediately, whichever. As the show went along, either way, you get pulled further and further and further into it. And by the end, like somebody else said, we're all at the cottage. You know, they were like, welcome to the cottage with the rest of us. And it's true. That's where we ended up, right? The not dying before Heated Rivalry season 2, I thought was amazing. That's so true because that's how I feel. And it needs to come here quickly. That's all I'm going to say. At Lynn Hetrick, 7588 on YouTube. Lynn says, while they were eating tuna melts, Ilia was trying to tell Shane that he's bisexual, but he's not serious with anyone. Then he tries to find out whether Shane is bi or gay and whether he has other hookups or relationships outside of the two of them. In the book, you get more from Ilia's point of view and how he plans out the day to try to get Shane, a lot of you said this as well, to stay the night. My heart broke when Ilia pleads Hollander to get him to try to get him to stay. I didn't clock, I would say, honestly, everything with the tuna melts and the ginger ales and all that. I was kind of going along with the moment and enjoying them, enjoying each other. And then when I read the comments after the fact, this is why one of the reasons I love doing this format of us going over the comments and talking about them together, is there are certain things that I didn't see a certain way until I read you guys' comments, and then now it makes more sense. And this is definitely one of those. So I didn't catch a lot of that scene about, you know, him saying his name and then what that did to Shane, but that Ilia had tried to set the scene for him to feel comfortable enough to stay. And then that just made it even, because in that context, it was like, just my heart aches for you two. At Car Journals writes, they were serving real Duke's mayonnaise on that couch, all right. I love this comment because I got a couple like this where it alluded to the Duke's mayo on the couch and all that. And I said something like, you know, well, if they're going to be having sex, I hope they're at least safe and use a condiment. Worst joke ever, but it made me laugh. So I was glad to read this comment for sure. At mkeen-u7e from YouTube, the Leanne Rimes joke is brutal and accurate. I'm so glad this comment got left because I have a long running feud with Leanne Rimes that she has no idea is going on because she has no idea who I am. And it makes no sense whatsoever, but I've got to commit to it now because it was something I started years ago. She just dated these guys that I just swore were gay or were on their way to realizing they were. And then she would just come in and just wreck it all. And of course, I'm just kidding. I know it doesn't work like that, but part of why it doesn't work like that is because Leanne. And so I just have always had this thing against Leanne because I felt like she took well-meaning, on their way gay guys, confused them, and put them into a different world. So that is the only reason I don't like her. It is so stupid. But again, I've committed to the hate, and I think I should see it through at this point. At Margaret Donaldson 8269, you need to listen to the lyrics of the songs. They are the inner dialogue, and Jacob Tierney did an amazing job at sourcing the perfect songs. Agree. There's another reason I was so grateful to you for leaving these types of comments, because I, again, was just sort of treating the songs as a background sort of, you know, element that I wasn't paying a lot of attention to in terms of the lyrics and things like that until you guys point out and you're like, no, you need to listen to the songs and how it matches up with what's on screen. And then it was a whole different experience. My whole world opened up in that way. So I really appreciate you guys pointing that out. Okay, from Patreon, Courtney N number 40 writes, episodes 4, 5, and 6 are my faves. So I'm so excited to see you react to the final 2 episodes. Warning, episode 5 might need to be a standalone because you all have lots of thoughts and feelings. Yeah, so I pulled this one because several of you told me this about how, you know, look, we saw you put 1 and 2 together. Maybe the others need to have their own reaction. And that made perfect sense after I started to watch those subsequent episodes. So I have to say thank you to Courtney Ann number 40 and to all you guys for that suggestion. Also from Patreon, Scott Crabtree writes, after you finish the series, so excited to see your reaction to these final 2 episodes. Okay, so this was episode 4 before I had watched 5 and 6. Personally, I would love to see you react to some of the cast interviews out here on YouTube to get a better idea of the actors' personalities and how much they change for the roles. There are plenty with the 2 boys, Hudson and Connor, to check out, from small, quick interview bits to stuff from like BuzzFeed and Vogue. An excellent 30-minute one from another project they did together immediately after this. Ember and Ice audiobook romance. That's right. Yes. That's why I wanted to talk about this. Well, 2 reasons. That's one of them. Plus some excellent podcasts with like Owen Thiel, Andy Cohen, and Evan Ross Katz. Even some of the interviews with book writer Rachel Reid or series creator Jacob Tierney are fantastic. Thank you so much, Scott. Yeah, so the Ember and Ice audiobook, several of you wrote comments about that, and I really appreciate that because that was one thing out of Scott's comment that I wanted to definitely note because I'd received several of you guys' recommendations for that. The other reason I pulled this was because Scott talks about, interviews or like other little videos to react to, snippets. I do a lot of that over on Patreon. I don't do as much here on YouTube, mostly like show reactions, movie reactions. So even though I might in the future, if you're ever interested in that stuff, we do a lot of that on Patreon. So check that out over there for some extras and bonus things that we'll do over there like that. Dion Lakey, also from Patreon. Dion writes, so excited for the 2 of you. And this also, are those your 2 pets on your desk with the 2 of you? Okay, so this is where we were doing episode 5. Excuse me, Mark was with me. And then he was here. And so, yeah, these 2 little Funkos were a gift and we love them so much. But yeah, that is our dog, Valentina, and that's our cat, Binks. Next up from at Mario Longoria 7238 on YouTube, he writes, Mark finally joined. Yes, this is episode 5 again. The acting, the sound, the cinematography, everything. Such an incredible show. I'm especially blown away by Hudson Williams's micro expressions. That kind of subtle, layered acting is rare these days. This episode is pure gold. Thank you so much, Mario. The main thing I took from your comment was about the micro expressions, and several of you left notes about that, saying that the facial acting, the micro expressions from him are just amazing, that he was just like really impressive to you. That Hudson Williams, if you'd seen him before, if you hadn't, you had not seen this version of him either way. And so yeah, I thought those were really, really great as well. At WazDecay473 on YouTube, 5 minutes, 5 seconds. David, please, you can't just... Oh, yeah, okay. All right, so because YouTube, you can't say certain words, right? David, please, you can't just unalive him on live television like that. And then the skull. Okay, so what they're talking about is in episode 5. Yes, it was episode 5. Yeah, because that's when Mark was here. This is when Rose and Shane were in the restaurant talking, okay? And I'm all into it because, this is like pure, almost like soap opera television for me at this point, at that time, in that moment, that scene. So I'm all into it. It's emotional. She's amazing. She's saying exactly what you'd hope someone would say. And Mark is seeing it a different way. He's just like, having fun with it and watching everything. And so Mark makes the comment, something about, they were talking about a square peg in a round hole or something. And Mark goes, oh, so you want to peg me? And I'm just like, Marcos. I was like, it just hit me out of nowhere when he said it. And I was like, oh, talking about the pegging. And then later, Shane makes the same kind of joke to Rose about pegging. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe Mark wasn't that far off the mark. And so I told him, I said, oh, well, look, he's like you. And so what WazDK473 is talking about, which I got another set of comments about this too, from you guys saying that you thought I was saying that Mark was enjoying getting pegged or whatever, that he was like the bottom and all that kind of stuff. So it just cracked me up because we didn't even think of it that way. And until I started seeing comments like this, it kind of hit me. I was like, oh yeah, it's true. Yeah. Okay, this one from Patreon, Chris. I'm genuinely impressed by the women in the show. Yes. It's refreshing to see them treat its female characters with such dignity instead of falling into the tired, scorned woman or jealous, bitter ex tropes. Rose and Svetlana are portrayed with such profound emotional maturity. Yes, Rose clocking Shane's true self with such kindness, all while offering him unconditional support, and Svetlana's unwavering loyalty, yes, to Ilia, selflessly setting him free to find authentic love. They prove that love doesn't always have to be romantic to be powerful. It's a masterclass in writing and beautifully refreshing heart emoji. And I cannot agree more, Chris. That was something that I really loved, and several of you, both on Patreon and YouTube, left comments about the female characters. I'm so glad you did because I was blown away by them as well. I love that they were written as such three-dimensional characters to where, especially with Rose, it makes it much more challenging and such a more layered performance when you can make her someone who is not unlikable. And so even though I'm rooting for Shane and Ilia, and this is a threat to that, I can't just write her off because she's an engaging character who is doing nothing wrong and is being amazing. So it's that conflict that the writing brings up in you that I just think is so great and makes for a more textured show. At Trish the Dish, Jacob Tierney secured the rights to use Wolf Parade's song, I'll Believe in Anything. Okay, so episode 5. While he was writing the scripts, he then had Elena tell Scott that he and Kip deserve sunshine in episode 3. The song plays when Scott's coming out after winning the cup in episode 5. Now watch episode 6 for how much light floods the scenes. They've come a long way from darkened hotel rooms. Yes, so true. And then there's the writing. You can see there on the screen from the Give Me Your Eyes, I Need Sunshine, and the rest of the lyrics on down. So yeah, I, again, with the music, just loved what they did, especially because you guys left comments like this, both on Patreon and on YouTube, saying, listen to the music, listen to the lyrics. It really adds another layer to whatever scene you're watching. So I thought that was really, really cool. So thanks at Trish the Dish for your comment there. Kelly Bridgers on Patreon writes, recently discovered your channel and I loved watching your YouTube reactions. So I had to come to your Patreon and help support y'all. Thank you so much for that. I'm all caught up with you now, and I'm excited to watch 6th episode reaction. So thank you, Kelly. I want to say several of you left comments like this, and we got a lot more patrons, I would say, signing up from some of the Heated Rivalry episodes. So thank you guys so much for that. At Sam Flamin, I'm laughing at 423 when you're like, I'm gonna be worried about something. Oh, okay, all right. So here we are. We're now at episode 6, about something like a car accident until the end credits, knowing that the end credits are also gonna be them driving. LOL. Guess we gotta worry until season 2 if they made it safely. Yes. And another reason I pulled this comment was because there were several others where you guys were talking about, you also were just expecting the worst, or just were holding your breath the entire time for something to happen. I was telling people, look, ma'am, I was raised on CW shows, okay? We expect the dog to run through the emergency room and grab the heart for the heart patient and run off with it and eat it. That's what we've been trained on. So this whole kind of like element of them holding hands and riding off in the sunset together and nothing happens is just foreign to us, the CW generation. Shannon Lubold coming in from Patreon. I love the shot of Shane and Ilia walking into the cottage. Yes, their initial discussion and everything on the couch is one shot. Great acting, writing, camera work, and music. Thank you so much, Shannon. The main reason I want to talk about this comment because it was so emblematic of others where you guys were talking about the cinematography of the show, how it didn't need to be as good as it was, that it could have gotten by with doing, a little bit less, but it didn't do that. It actually went in, did everything great with writing, did everything great with directing, did everything great with the acting, of course. All of that came together in such a complete package. And I mean, I agree with Shannon and everyone else who commented that it was just so well done. Snaptic over on Patreon writes, fantastic reaction as always. Thank you. Loved watching you go on the journey of this show. Jumping in to answer a question you asked when Shane was suggesting Ilia play for Ottawa. You asked, do they get traded? Do they have a say? The answer is yes, kind of, to both those questions. So this involves what I was talking about, how I didn't understand how it worked with, can they just go wherever they want? Don't they get traded? And so what Snaptic was explaining is, Ilia mentions in the episode that after the next season, he will be a free agent. Basically, his contract to play with Boston is expiring. This gives him the freedom to either stay with Boston, which would be the expected move, or sign with a different team. Since Ilia is a star player, he will have lots of interest from other teams trying to make competitive offers to poach him from Boston. In their conversation about Ottawa, Shane mentions they're nowhere near their cap. He's talking about the league salary cap, how much a team can spend each year on player salaries. So this just means Ottawa would have the money to make Ilia a competitive offer, which I love that explanation because I didn't get any of that shit when I was watching it. So thank you for that. At CPT Doom on YouTube writes, every queer kid wants that moment Shane and Una share, including the please forgive me and I forgive you mom are so important because they show how even the best parents can inadvertently cause harm and how they can move on, or now they can move on, First, the first part at CPT Doom so perfectly says it. What was it? It was this part. show how even the best parents can inadvertently cause harm. You know, we all have our moments that we take away and that really affect us. For me, that was one of my moments. I mean, big time. I didn't have exactly that kind of moment. Ma passed. Oh, and so this is where at CBT Doom then tells like a story. And I've loved this since day one of doing the channel and reading some of the first comments I ever got. How personal people would get and tell me things about their lives and share that. And that's just so important, because if it weren't for the comments, honestly, why would you be doing this? You know what I mean? Like, the whole point to me anyway of using a format like YouTube is to be able to have a community where we can talk about, in this case anyway, movies and shows. I mean, not maybe all of YouTube, but for this part of it, the reactor space. That's kind of the point, to talk about things, learn about what you're watching from others, and then, you know, also shared experiences that we might have from, you know, just testimonials of our own past, of our own lives. It's just one of the coolest things about doing this. And so I thank at CPT Doom and all those people who are brave enough to share their stories with everybody out there. 4 more coming up. At Jen Loves Horror on YouTube. I cried so hard when Shane had his panic attack, and as a mom, you just see the way your son is being comforted by his boyfriend, and that ensures to you that your son will be taken care of. It's a mom thing. I know any person can say they love my kid, but when you see genuine love and comfort being given, it helps your heart know they will be taken care of when you're gone. Hope that makes sense. It does. Beautiful ep and beautiful show. Loved it. Yes. Oh my God. That's so true. And I really love that moment when, I know exactly what you're talking about. And it was exactly what I noticed, because I've been in those shoes, and not as a mom, but I mean, as the person who's trying to calm someone else who's having a panic attack, and how, you know, you just say those things like you're in a safe place, you're around people that are looking out for your best interests. You know what I mean? To just kind of make them feel safe and secure and just calm the situation. And so I loved what Jen wrote when she's talking about how, as a mom, you see that other side of it where you love that there's someone who can do that for your child. It's just so beautiful. It's just so beautiful. This show. At Open to Discussion on YouTube, I understand you appreciate more the cinematography as the episodes progress. Yes, I guess, as most of us, it was a lot to take at first, so now you enjoy more. Oh yeah, so this is where I was talking about how it's a lot to take in when you first get started, and you're just trying to learn who people are, what's going on, and then you catch a lot more as you watch. And I know so many of you have said, watching the show over and over, you catch a lot more. So for me and a lot of other reactors, we're taking it all in as much as we can. We might not notice at first, you know, the environment and the beautiful cinematography, and appreciate all of that like we do later. Second point was, one advice: rewatch the whole story after. You'll appreciate a lot more the first 2 episodes a second watch. You'll see so many more in episode 1 and 2 the second time around and appreciate them really. Yes. And, you know, like I always say, we have the best people commenting. You guys are so just amazingly perfect. We hardly ever get bad comments. So I don't really have anything to ever share when it's like, you know, I'm going to share some of the worst comments we've gotten. Everyone's so nice and wonderful. We don't really get them. That's not a challenge. Don't start leaving me bad comments. I'm just saying it's amazing. But we do get a few. And one of them was, you guys need to go back and rewatch again, because said something like, you know, the guy on the right or the left, I guess on you guys' screen, Mark, you know, wasn't even listening and making comments. And so the guy on the left needs to go back and watch on his own. So you can get, you know, sort of just saying that, like, I guess the point of both ends of the spectrum in this case would be rewatches are good. And they also help when you're waiting for season 2 to come and like a couple months goes by and you're like, I just miss it so much. You can rewatch. At Fabian Enriquez 2814. Okay, so I mentioned a few times already, I would mention my inclination regarding one of the characters, which leads me to Hayden. Something about how Hayden looks at Shane has got me wondering. I felt Hayden's interest in Shane's love life was a bit too curious for a teammate who's already married with kids. There's a scene where Ilia wins the trophy, and Shane, along with his other teammates, are over at Hayden's house watching the game. It's a slow motion scene. I remember this totally. In which, oh, now I lost my train of thought. Where's it going? Oh yeah, in which they show Hayden looking over at Shane. I noticed Hayden's interesting behavior in the locker room, which made me question him somewhat, but thought I was off base. I really do believe Hayden is hiding a very big secret. I think this may be the wrench to cause issues between Shane and Ilia. Also, I almost felt like there was a sexual tension between Scott and Ilia or Shane. Yes, with Hayden, I thought that. Looking at Hayden's behavior, maybe not. He's probably just a good friend. And I might be overthinking it, like, you know, Shane's mom on the elevator, floor 6 and all that. But you just never know where these shows are going to go, right? I don't know if Hayden would play a spoiler for the two of them. I don't know. At the very least, I can see the jealousy Ilia might have in the future over Hayden. Maybe he'll be a wrench that way. As far as others coming into the scene with with Scott and everything, yeah, I don't know if they're doing anything with that either, but I guess we'll find out. Now we're down to the last comment, the very last one from Louetta Rd over on Patreon. Great reaction. Thank you. Glad I found you. I'd suggest Fellow Travelers 8-episode miniseries from Showtime. It's incredible. Thank you, Lori. The main reason I want to include this comment specifically is because I rely so much on you guys to tell me about any movies or shows you think might be good, either because of or just like Heated Rivalry or just because they're a good movie or show. Always do that. We vote a lot over on Patreon in polls, but I get suggestions from everywhere. Patreon, YouTube, anywhere. That was the last comment. I just want to tell you guys how much I appreciate, again, all the comments you left. Even if I didn't get a chance to respond to you or include your comment here, I definitely read each one. I know I said it earlier, but I want to say again, I am so grateful to every single one of you. Let me know if you enjoy this kind of stuff. I like doing these things. Like I said, we've done this in the past when it was, I know Harry Potter, Mark and I did those, and I know like Lord of the Rings I did. So if you enjoy this, just let me know. We'll do more of these. Have a great rest of the day / night wherever you are, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want, and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no, I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble.